Jai Sri Ram. Why do we humans who are believed to be intelligent, rational animals do stupid things, do dumb things, and then try to defend our dumbness? Why do we do that? Isn't it an interesting question? People believe in all kinds of things. I won't name them because you might get offended. And if you get offended, you may not hear this with an open mind. I leave it to you to decide impartially, objectively, what kind of things are you believing in which are actually consuming your resources, which can otherwise be used to self actualize yourself. Self actualization, being all that you can be, becoming everything that you could be based on your aptitudes. uh, Achieving all that you can achieve in life. So, self actualized individual is one who achieves all his potentials. You could be a singer, dancer, painter, whatever. There are so many potentials that you have, and you wouldn't have ever really got your aptitudes tested. If you only play, let us say, gully cricket, maybe you'll become Virat Kohli, but if you don't, then perhaps you had the potential to be a chess champion, a golf champion, or an underwater hockey champion, or a swimming champion, or many other such activities which you don't even know. And you never, therefore, have tried. Therefore, you end up not knowing your own aptitudes, and you will lead a frustrated life. Even if you're financially happy, you cannot be happy in the real sense, because a singer must sing, a dancer must dance, huh? Tendulkar must play cricket, Kohli must play cricket. If he plays some other game, just because he's paid more, he'll become frustrated. He was born to play cricket. What were you born to? And are you using all your resources to self actualize? So, this is a question that has always bothered me. Intelligent people, why do they do dumb things? Of course, there are lots of studies. There are lots of studies. Some of them, I made a small list. Psychologists have done. There's one thing called the halo effect. Halo effect, we succumb to that. That means if somebody looks good, uh, we tend to think that he's honest, intelligent. We tend to have favorable opinions of people if their face looks good. This is called lookism, actually. Lookism. If somebody has a well proportioned face, high cheekbones, and a prominent jaw, it looks good, handsome or beautiful, if it's a female. So we tend to immediately think that they are nice people, they're educated, mature. We draw these positive inferences. And suppose you come across a person whose features are not very attractive. Hmm? I leave it. I don't want to waste your time describing those features. And maybe he has a scar too. Now, and maybe he looks shabby. Uh, you might form a negative opinion about this person who could actually be a sant, who could be a sant. And the other fellow who looks very attractive, very nice, very sophisticated, very debonair. Debonair, Debonair. Debonair is a very positive word that you can apply only to people who have three qualities: who are very vivacious, that means energetic, full of energy, and then very affable, very friendly, very accessible. You can approach them, they're affable. And the third quality is they are very suave, suave. Suave means very polished, very civilized, very cultured, know how to carry themselves. They're not gauche, gauche. Gauche means very clumsy, awkward, doesn't know how to behave, doesn't know how to speak, doesn't know how to dress up for the occasion, these kind of things. So, debonair is an extremely positive adjective. It includes three things: high level of energy, very friendly, and very cultured. So, if a person looks like this, well dressed and wearing a natty suit, then we tend to think that he's a nice person. Maybe he's a serial killer. This is lookism, halo effect. we become dumb. We turn to trust these people and then burn our fingers. It has happened to me, and I'm sure it has happened to you. Only thing, we don't tell these things to everyone. So, why do we intelligent people do dumb things? There are so many experiments. Another one is Stanley Milgram's obedience experiment. Stanley Milgram, I think it was Stanford. So he conducted some experiments where people were told that they have to participate in a psychology experiment, and it's just an experiment. So they are made to sit in a place. There is another person made to sit in the next room, and they can see the person through a mirror, through a glass actually. And their task is to ask some questions, and when they give the wrong answers, administer an electric shock. The conductor of the test will tell them it's a mild shock. There's nothing to worry. And then as every mistake, number of mistakes increases, he is supposed to give a more stronger shock. In reality, actually, no shock was being given. The subjects were trained to pretend as if they are actually receiving shocks. And the shock that we all received, that means everyone received, is people suspended their moral compass. That means, just imagine you are sitting, and because you are being told, hey, come on, give the shock. Why are you not giving the shock? People end up giving the shock. Because they feel that somehow they are not responsible, because they're just following an order of someone else. So this is what happened in Hitler's Nazi, where 6 million Jews were subjected to the gas chambers. There were many good people there, but they just followed orders, and they felt that they were somehow not to be held responsible, because they were after all following orders. you know but as a human, we have the responsibility all the time to think and refuse to indulge in an act which is grossly immoral, even if God tells you to do that. Now, you have the Bible and the Quran, where you have this Abraham or Ibrahim. He is ordered by God to sacrifice his son, and he actually brings his son and goes to the hill and tries to cut his neck, slit his neck. And then God, I believe, is very impressed, and suddenly he produces a ram, a sheep, a male sheep, and asks Abraham that, I'm pleased with your devotion. Now you don't sacrifice that Isaac, sacrifice the goat. Now, when I heard this, the first thing that came up to my mind is, I should ask every Christian and Muslim, would they do that in case if God comes into their dream and says, or commands that, please get your father, mother, or your son and slaughter him? Would you do that? And now, first of all, if God asks or commands someone to do that, I would doubt if he would be God in the first place. Next, and in case if God does that, I will refuse. Yeah? On several grounds that cannot be done, Mr. God, because my conscience would not allow me to do such a thing. First of all, we can't be sure whether that is God. You could be hallucinating. You could be a psychopath, actually. So, why should normal people do these things? Next, the false consensus bias. Groups fail to share information effectively, and we think that everyone is doing it and everyone has the same opinion. This is the false consensus bias, groupthink. That happened in 1962. We lost the war to China because of Nehru's stupidity. Our Air Force, had it been utilized, we would have won the war. But instead of using our Air Force, our pilots were highly experienced because they participated in the Second World War. China's Air Force was not so good. And so, had India used the Air Force in 1962, we would have won the war against China. And most people who knew that we can easily win kept quiet, because Nehru was larger than life. And Nehru appointed some Kaul, Kaul, his nephew, who was actually in charge of a canteen. He was made the general of the 62 war operation. Just imagine, a guy who's supposed to be running a canteen is heading the entire military campaign, and we lost miserably. And Nehru was asking John F. Kennedy to send F-16s at that time. Unfortunately, Kennedy, though he was favorably disposed towards India, was under a cloud because of the Cuban Missile Crisis at that time. So he could not send F-16s. The truth of the matter is, we didn't need them. And many people in the Army Air Force who knew kept quiet. And they wrote books much after Nehru died. And some of them, I believe, confessed that this is a case where there is no freedom and groupthink. Uh, everyone falls into the ditch. They fail to air their opinions. Uh, they are overawed by this leader, who unfortunately is not a leader, because a good leader will always encourage people to dissent. You must have at least one person in your team who is a black hat thinker. In fact, you must appoint a person to question every action or decision, so that you end up actually taking better decisions. Unfortunately, people don't do that. People get angry when somebody dissents. Bystander apathy is another thing. You see, people just watch and don't do anything because they are not affected. That is another reason why intelligent people do dumb things. And of course, conformity, conforming to the norm. We conform to the norm and we act without thinking. There is a famous experiment, five monkeys experiment, conformity experiment. You can find this on YouTube also. Right? So, conforming mindlessly. And another thing is, the unspoken expectations of other people also controls us. Think about this. The unspoken expectations of the others. We can discern, we can, infer. And these things actually control us. So we need to be careful. So there are many such studies. Some other studies are, you can do your own research. The chameleon effect, mirroring, imitating body language, and they will like us. We think that others will like us, and eventually there is a spin-off. There is a what you call spillover effect. It's not a spin-off. Spin-off means some advantage, something good, secondary, good thing. It's not a spin-off. It's actually a repercussion. That is, we tend to be influenced by the kind of people that we surround ourselves with. There is this robbers cave experiment, you can look that up. Stanford prison experiment, another very controversial psychology experiment where normal people indulged in disgusting behavior simply because they thought they were participating in a study, and then they were being told to do it, and that's why, as if they don't have any, intellectual integrity or moral integrity. So, social identity theory. We are not really, Johari window is another tool. There are surprising gaps in our own self knowledge. And so, thought suppression, repression, and all these things are there. And unfortunately, so called religious gurus, instead of clearing the clutter in the mind, they're filling them with more dogma. So the fools are becoming idiots. Uh, Jai Shri Ram. Think carefully, think carefully. Stop worshipping graves and all kinds of beggars. Study Bhagavad Gita. Jai Shri Ram.